Archeo and the Archeo. Hello. So I had a thought earlier today to just like go live. Maybe I was gonna say maybe schedule it, but probably not. Because I know like sometimes I'll come on here and I'll be like doing something, and so I don't get to engage with the chat as much as I would like to. I don't get to be as present um, with y'all, I guess, as I would like sometimes. Because it's like, I want to respond, but at the same time, sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to deviate too far from the read. But anyway, in my own personal, is it my personal, in my personal viewing experiences? For a hot minute, I was seeing a lot, or I have been seeing a lot of like, tell people what you're doing. It's like start something, initiate something, but also like tell people. And it's interesting because the last time I talked to my journey buddy, last few times I've talked to my journey buddy, she's brought up my human design and how I'm am I a manifester? I'm a manifester. And my thing is to like initiate and inform or whatever. So that's one thing I've been seeing like pop up a lot. Today, I realized that although work has been a lot lately, like a lot, like too much, it is giving me things that I've desired for quite some time. Like I've been craving a funnel cake for literally years, since 2015. And before 2015, I was craving a funnel cake since like 2012. And then I had one, and it satisfied my funnel cake craving for a few months, and then it came right back. Um, but I got free tickets to a fair through work, um, and I was like, wow. And I was like, I wonder if there's like a positive aspect, or if Jupiter and Saturn are aspecting, because I feel like Jupiter's like, I know that you're working hard with Saturn, so here's a little something, and Saturn's like, I'll allow it. If you should watch an older video of mine. Oh, snap. I never thought about shuffling my like videos or going back through videos I've liked before. Maybe I should try that. How you doing, Sandra? So that was another thing. I know in my chart I have Saturn and Jupiter trine, but it's like a really, really weak trine. It might be like 10 degrees. So it's very weak. But my Jupiter in Libra trines my Saturn in Aquarius. I think my Jupiter is like 13 degrees. And it's retrograde. So I guess in the spirit of whatever I'm supposed to be telling people about, I'm like, I don't know where to go. Like if you give me a situation or something, I'm not too bad. I'm exhausted, but I have little to complain about, and I'm grateful for that. I mean, I can complain about work a lot. I feel like that's like I worked 11 hours yesterday, and then I worked like 4.5 hours today. Like in addition to the other like 9-10 hour days I was doing earlier this week. Um, but besides that, I'm well. I have little to complain about. Even in all the work, there is gratitude because they gave me a funnel cake for the entrance was free to get the funnel cake that I paid for. The funnel cake wasn't free, but and I think so. I'm low key. I wasn't gonna tell anybody because I feel like if I tell people, then it'll be worse. But I think I'm low key gonna do this thing where I just say yes to everything for like a week. When if everyone's like, "Hey Patrick, you want to do this?" Yes. "Hey Patrick, can you help me do this?" Yes. "Hey Patrick, blah blah blah." Yes. And then I might do a week of no after that. I don't know. It depends on how I feel after all that. Yes, I guess. And I just thought about it yesterday at like 5:36. I was at work, and I think I had a break or something. No, I was entering paperwork yesterday because I thought yesterday was going to be light. So I was up doing paperwork and just listening to people, and I was like, I should have a week of just like yes, because I think I watched Consciousness Evolution, one of her journeys, yesterday. It was good. It wasn't amazing. It was kind of small, but it was pretty good. Who are you? Am I gonna take this card? It's Shadow Diver. And the reason why I ask if I'm gonna take Shadow Diver is because when I opened up the book, I opened the book to the page of Shadow Diver. And the innocent. The innocent Shadow Diver? Maybe he like floats down on like some propeller hat. I know it's an umbrella. Or maybe the umbrella like slows his descent, like that one Kirby. Um, but yeah, anyway. I was like, I should just say yes. And it was like at like 5:30 yesterday. And so my mom was like, "Hey, like, do you want to go to your little cousin's birthday party after work, and then I'll take you by the fair?" I was like, "Yeah." I mean, I didn't really want to go to the birthday party. Well, I didn't feel any way about the birthday party, and it would have let me go to the fair, but I ended up working through the party, so and I still got to go to the fair. Maybe I'll say yes. I don't know, because I feel like there have been points in times in my life, like I'm the type of person. So where I am in my life and in my journey is I like to play with belief. We'll say, um, if I truly believe that I am made in the image of the Creator and that I hold a piece of that Creator within me, um, and I believe an assortment of other things, then it's like depending on the situation, I feel like it's irresponsible. It could be potentially irresponsible of me to put my belief into certain things, believing or knowing that my belief has power. And so I'll try to like broker, I guess. If that, I don't think I'm using the word right, but I think I'm kind of getting the vibe. I'll try to like broker a little bit. I'll be like, okay, if this needs to happen for X reason and that needs to happen for Y reason, what's a way we can get all of the things that need to sort of happening without things being like completely trash. You know what I mean? Without the experience being completely miserable. Um, it's honestly such a huge ball of so much that I feel like I don't know. Let me just get one of these cards. I just need somewhere to start. So, what would you like for me to tell people about? I guess I don't know. And then that share wisdom card kept coming out. It's almost like the innocent, but not really. I'm trying to find. Oh, it's the Jester. Okay, that makes me think of the Heyoka, and that's something that I was thinking about earlier today. Probably because of like the dark side of Gemini, and then I think Cancer 4, because it's this thing I do sometimes where It's just rough. Like it's a little chili pepper. I call it. If you're probably not new here, but if you are, I say it like chili peppering. We call them chili peppers over here because it's a little hot, and sometimes it just is what it is. But my thing is, I think sometimes we try so hard to make something not what it is that whatever we do to handle it, face it, or address it, one second. Whatever we do to handle it, face it, or address it, it's almost like it doesn't, its effects are negligible or its effects are less than ideal. And that's because it's almost like we don't have any real attachment to the situation. And it's like, how can we change a world that we're not even a part of? Or how can we change something that we don't even want to look at? How can we change something that we don't even feel? You know what I mean? Like there's no connection there to, like, connection is the bridge, the path, the road. Change is the thing that we send down that to get to its destination. And then if everything aligns, change happens. But if that bridge, road, whatever is closed or non-existent, then it's like, how is that energy supposed to get where it's going to do what it's intended to do? And so sometimes it's just like very bluntly and very matter of factly, and sometimes sassily, and sometimes a little too much Oli. The energy will be like very not great, and I'll talk about it probably in a very not great way instead of trying to be like, oh, like whatever. But then after that, more often than not, it's like, well, how do we like work with this to get somewhere? How do we come out of this? Or I'll try to be like, what's an energy that can kind of sort of bridge something that can make it easier to get out of this? I don't know. I just think, and another thing, it's like, I know it's not everybody or whatever, and I'm probably mishearing when whatever. But I think when it comes to like unity and stuff like that, I think in general, it seems that like we as people tend to conflate difference with division. And like, it's like if you point out differences between two things, or to say like I am different than you, or to it's like in a lot of conversations it seems like that works directly against like unity consciousness or whatever, when in my mind it's like, okay, I think I use the body a lot, right? Like let's say I'm a heart cell in the heart. There are other parts to the heart, there are other cells in the heart. Some of those cells form certain structures. There's like the ones that oxygenate blood or whatever, and then the ones that do like all that stuff. And then you got the brain, and then you got the lungs and the liver and the kidney and the spleen and the arms and the legs and everything else, the eyeballs, the hairs, right? Like we are all on that body, but we can be different cells. And I think in my mind it's, I don't know, there are just some things that I can't, that I personally struggle to like reconcile with how our like, it's not, because the Jester for me is whenever I'm like, I embrace paradox. I know that like sometimes things that are seemingly um polar opposites can be the same, or sometimes multiple things can be true or whatever. And I think in embracing and acknowledging paradox, it's different than I can't even find the words to say it. Yeah, it's it just I'm like, I don't know. And it's like, for me, it's like that's how the whole, I feel like that's how our approach to social justice, diversity, and inclusion has sort of failed us in a way. Because for a long time, the argument is like, we have more in common than we do like differences. You and me are really the same, and blah, blah, blah. And so we're always looking for ourselves in other people. And it's like, if then it's, and that's another thought I had earlier today. Thoughts that I'm too tired to really put together right now, but I'll try. It's like, if we can only see ourselves in other people, there's so much of other people that we miss out on. And yes, it's true that we reflect each other to one another to a certain degree and to a certain extent. But it's like there's so much more to creation than an individual. And to me, it's just like, it's incredibly limiting of creation. It's incredibly limiting of the vastness and the power of the creator. And it's like, that's how we end up in basically like little echo chamber bubble realities. And I hear so many people, like, this isn't directly directed at anybody in particular, because I'll hear people say something, and then I'll observe like every, like, people, not everybody, because I don't know everybody, but like people at large in general. And it seems like in general, the attitude is like, we are basically all the same person, just different fractions and fractals of that one person. Like, there are 7 million plus me's or 7 billion plus me's. You are all a reflection of me. But then it's like, well, we have these like realities that are going to be coming together where like we all separated. And it's like, well, if everybody is just one person, then there is no separation of reality, because every reality is exactly the same. But we know that to be very not true. And it's just, it's almost like who we've had to be, or who so many people were in the past to get us to where we are now, that has put in our hearts, minds, and spirits these things that don't necessarily align to and resonate with the soul in general. This is going to be very all over the place. At the bottom of the deck is the inventor. So we got the jester and the inventor. Oh, snap. I didn't even know this was in here. The blank card. The jester, the inventor, and then this blank card. Speaking of creation and the creator, this makes it feel like there's this page that's perpetually blank. There's a canvas that's perpetually empty, because we continue to create and recreate the same things over and over. There's a lot of heart, I guess, here in the green. Heart, root, and is that, how deep is that blue? I don't know if that's third eye or if it's throat. But the head is, oh, that's like ostrich. Oh, wait, is that orange or is it red? Oh, that might be a little more orange. Okay, let's get off the colors. But that was the thing for me when I was thinking about, and I literally had this whole conversation before where I was like, I wouldn't call myself a Heyoka on live. I might think it. Well, I don't even know if I would think it, honestly. Because I think another thing too, I was listening to like full moon Aquarius things today. And I think like a lot of times we'll look at astrology, right? And we can look at transits before they come, or we can look at transits where they are. And we'll look at all these things and we'll try to be like ahead of the game, or like this is what is really happening energetically because this is where the planets are. But it's like in a certain level, any like those planets are constantly in motion. Energy is constantly in flux. And for them to be in the position that they're in, it's like energy, like something has to have preceded that. And I think that in general is just an element of connection to, I'll say to the divine in general, but to the flow of energy, I guess more specifically, where it's like, and I think it happens already. It probably happens to a lot of people, a lot of sensitives, where it's like you'll sort of like feel a change, or I don't know, you'll notice energy shifting, and then some planet will conjunct something, or some transit will happen, and it'll be like, oh, this is happening. Um, it's just the subtlety. It's like before it is physical, like before the invention, oh, the inventor, before, oh, okay, before the thing is made, it was an idea in the inventor's brain. And before it was in the inventor's brain, it was like a musing of spirit. But there's a step in between that because there's something that triggers the thought. And then while the thought is being sort of processed, packaged, and then while it's like, then you create something based off of the thought. It's to get back to sort of like that original thing. And that original thing feels like it's in the energy of the jester. But let me read these because I only used this deck like once and I loved it. And I haven't gotten either one of these cards. So Hij. Who was that? The hypocrite. I didn't expect so many eyes. So the jester, the attribute of the jester, may act like a fool, but he is far from being one. A philosopher clown with an ironic sense of humor, he refuses to be misdirected by the whims of kings. Unlike the puckish trickster, who is dedicated to causing insightful mischief, the jester takes a wider view of existence. His wit is, at root, profound, and his eyes are open to both the grandeur and the futility of existence. Persona is, hopping absurdly from one leg to the other, the jester pulls gargoyle-esque faces, pretending to be simple-minded. He intentionally places himself at the bottom of the pecking order. Wearing his traditional uniform of motley, he clowns and squawks in foolish dialects, but beneath his buffoonery, the words he utters speak to truth. How else can he get away with mocking the esteemed assembly for their bloated pomp and selfish opinions? When the company is tired or dejected, the jester will lift everyone with laughter, encouraging and cajoling them to see things with a lighter heart. And when chaos threatens and disillusion sets in, he introduces a fresh alternative perspective. But if you ask him directly for advice, he will reply with a wry wink. If you have come to a fork in the road, take it. The jester is an inventor. Oh, inverter. I just can't read. The jester is an inverter of pictures and anti-pedant, whose role is to name the sense within nonsense and muddy the waters with his clarity. I feel like I butchered that like all the way up. Inverter of pictures, anti-pedant. I feel like pedantic is a word. Let's ooh. Please be charged. Because Bixby don't be doing right. Oh, yes. I plugged it up. Hey, Siri, define Antipedant.
Okay. I found this on the web for define antipodent. Check it out.
Antipodent? Okay, that makes sense. But y'all ain't. Excuse me, pedantic. There's nothing wrong with focusing on the details, but someone who is pedantic makes a big display of knowing obscure facts and details. Pedantic means like a pedant, someone who's too concerned with literal accuracy or formality. Too literal. Okay, gotcha. So his anti-pedant, not literal person, whose role is to name the sense within nonsense and muddy the waters with his clarity. And then let's read the inventor. I think the inventor is literally the one before the jester. The inventor is the quintessential Renaissance man. Ooh, shout out to Beyonce. Just kidding, kinda. Beyonce invented the Renaissance. It was not a period in like the 14, 13, 1200s or whatever. Renaissance wasn't a thing until Beyonce made it a thing. So, and that's factual information. The inventor is a quintessential Renaissance man. With a pencil stub behind his ear, he's a problem solver, wise to the world, a good hearted teacher, scrawling diagrams across his scuffed notebook. He is the sum of Leonardo and Archimedes, willing to fix the broken vacuum cleaner. Without his inventiveness, every broken tool will remain useless, and every obstacle will become insurmountable. You need the inventor, or your heroic journey will be halted by the first broken wheel. Within the inventor's pockets nestle the very things needed to fix the problem: a rubber band, a paperclip, a book of logarithms, a tape measure, and a fob watch that runs backwards. The inventor is worldly wise, yet nothing is too mundane for his curiosity. Nothing's too metaphysically awkward for his inquiry. Neither for his inquiry. Is that inquiry or inquiry? Are they the same word? Well, it's an en, and I think, yep, I'm gonna look it up because I think inquiry is inquiry, or is that inquiry? Inquiry, an act of asking for information. So inquiry. Did I put a T in inquiry? Wait, are they the same? Here we go. In U.S. English, you should always use inquiry and inquire with an I, regardless of the formality of the investigation. In British English, inquiry and inquire are used to describe formal/official investigations and lines of questioning, whereas inquire with an E and inquiry are used in less formal investigations. So it's like a British English thing, and the I makes it legit. Girl, ain't nobody say Bixby. It's fine. So I guess this is British English book. So it's non-official, gotcha, or less official, not of utmost importance. Uh, oh, that makes sense then. Nothing's too metaphysically awkward for his inquiry. Neither constructing a bridge between dimensions nor solving the relationship between infinity and eternity. The inventor is a maker of silk purses out of sow's ears and furniture from cardboard and string. He's an experimenter and a transformer, more abacus than keyboard. His inquisitiveness plots patterns within the constellations, unties Gordian knots, and builds better pouring teapots. He is interesting and interested in you, and if you sit next to him in his workshop, he will teach the subtle arts of invention and show you the importance of patient resolve. And then there's the blank card. I'm going to tell you how I create. Just kidding, because I don't. I don't know. Is that what's her name? No. Oh, that's the siren. The siren is behind. The siren is behind the blank card. I like the siren behind the blank card and the inventor. I like this energy because I feel like that's literally like that thought to a thing. But here is the side when I was like, well, something has to precede that thought. Like something had to trigger that thought coming to the mind of the inventor before the creation is created. And it feels like it's this energy. It's like this is it non physical. This is what it is ultimately at the end of the process. Hey, Steph, how are you? Ooh, and then the Star Climber is behind the siren. I like the Star Climber because we've already seen this. I've already seen the Shadow Diver several times, and I'm not over it per se, but I didn't know there was a Star Climber for the Shadow Diver. I think for me, well, I think esoterics are cool. I mean, obviously, right? But I think sometimes it feels like I don't. Sometimes things it feels like get overcomplicated. I think there's a presence to the jester. The jester is like a stand-up comedian. I was just thinking about the bearded man. I think within the past week, I think, and I talked about it. Did it come up in a video? I remember mentioning thinking about the temple. Yeah, because I talked about that led me to um, intuition and how it's like, do we sometimes intuit? It was one of those things that I guess the more I think about it, it kind of sort of doesn't really matter. But it's like there's this thing that happens in the future. And then, like, it's already going to happen. Let's call that destiny slash fate. Because again, I don't always know the difference between the two. I feel like contextually, within the confines of a certain conversation, I can differentiate. Um, but it's like there's this thing that's fated, destined to happen, and the intuition picks up on that fixed point in eventuality, and it notifies us of that. But yeah, I thought about the bearded man before. The Temple of the Bearded Man. Oh. So that was interesting because I remember what came back to my mind um, was that it was like when I was doing that reading, trying to connect to the bearded man, there was like the story of loss and the story of manipulation and of someone who almost went down that path. But through the ethers, some shimmering somebody was like, one of your lights is in danger of like going dark. And so then it's like that's when he ended up in that wasn't the Temple of the Bearded Man. That wasn't Chichen Itza. I think that well maybe it was Chichen Itza, actually. And that may be oh wow. Next month a year ago. Whoa, I can feel the emotion in that. It'll make me cry. Well, I'm glad you're still here with us. Even if I don't know, how is your friend doing? Um, I hope that there have been some real high times since then, because I know it isn't always easy. But I'm glad you're still around. Excuse me. I felt like there was something else that has been coming to my mind. I'm just gonna reach down, and the first deck I grab, I'm gonna use because I don't know this one. Oh no! Why did you even give me this, Matthew? I was like, I'm just gonna reach down. I can't see, and just pick up the first deck. And it's the Occult Tarot. I mean, every time I've used it, I feel like it's hit. It's resonated. Just like in the Damon Tarot, I don't like necessarily get the big bads, so I've never had reason to be afraid. But just because it ain't happened before, don't mean that fear isn't a healthy state to live in. But I guess I said I'd use this. There's something about the inconceivable. So at work, we have these cybersecurity awareness videos that we watch, and it's like how to make a strong password. Don't plug in random flash drives that you find on the ground because it might contain some kind of program to hack your computer. Don't trust fishy emails or whatever, stuff like that. And we revisited passwords last time, and there's this. It's an office, um, and in the office, like there are these people who work at the company, and they're recurring, a lot of them. Um, and like they are the ones who make the mistakes, and then the IT guy is the one who's like, see, that's why you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. The network was hacked because somebody did whatever. Some girl, like somebody left their key card, and the girl like swiped into the building. She's like, oh, I'm here to bring it back. He was like, and then they were like, oh, you should have reported that it was missing so we could have deactivated it because some strange random girl just walked up in here. Like she work here and she don't. Her intentions were good, but anyway, last time nobody knows the name of the IT guy. Nobody can remember it, but everybody knows everybody else. And in the last video, they were having their meeting. They went bowling, and they were talking about how this one dude like finally bowled without the bumpers, and he only scored 7 points. And I was like, "Wow, come for me! You don't have to so hard. You don't have to come for me so hard right now." And I'm from a family of bowlers, so it's tragic. Um, but anyway, he was talking about password, and he was like, first it was like, don't leave your password on a sticky note on your desk where anybody can find it. Don't make your work passwords the same as your home password. Don't use the same password for like everything. Um, but then it was like, don't like write all your passwords down in the beginning of your notebook. And it's like, well, how would he know that it's in somebody's notebook? And then this other girl was like, oh, haha. And he was like, oh, not so fast. Let me see your phone. And she was like, here's my phone. I have nothing to hide. And he was like, well, here's a contact called password in your phone with all your passwords on it. And I'm like, how did he know that that was in her phone? It started to get into that territory of like things that people do. And for the sake of the content, like it had to be mentioned somehow. And I guess it was more realistic than like, hey, this is where I keep all my passwords. But in like real life, it's like, well, how would you know what's in her phone? You know what I mean? How you know she got a contact password in her phone with all her passwords in it? And then I was like, nobody can know this dude's name. He looking acting a little omniscient right now. I wonder if he's like, and I was gonna tell people at work my theory. I was like, I think he's like God or a God. And that's why like nobody can remember his name because of mankind's inability to fully comprehend and understand the divine. It's like even when he manifests in physical form to help them, make their password secure and keep their network bug and virus and hack free. Nobody listens to him, number one. And nobody can remember his name. I was like, oh snap. And for some reason, with this blank card right here, it makes me think of, for some reason, it's making me think of that here. And it's like only the Jester can make sense out of it, or I don't know if the Jester is, because there could be, it's like the inventor and all of his musings in the Jester sees everything that he can't in the sort of divine, in a way. Maybe the Jester is a representation of the divine that to a lot of people makes no sense and is whatever, but the inventor can see the Jester for what it is. I feel like I'm all the way off, but yeah, you did. I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry. Got me real emotional. Yeah, I remember a year ago almost. Almost a year. So if that was almost a year ago, that would have been not too long after I started work. Okay. There's one dude in the Damon Tarot. I think his name starts with an M. And I'm actually gonna find him because I don't know if he's in this deck. Oh, I'm not. I'm not gonna find him because I would have to like dig through all of these to get it. But it was like he fell from heaven, and then it's like he talks about going back someday or something, and everybody thinks he's crazy because it's like you fell. There is no going back. Hello, but I'm like maybe he knows something, and he only like he fell part time, like he fell for a reason, and then he'll be present at the rise. No, makes me think of that, but yeah, I think I started August 30th, but my first day in the lab was September 1st. What? Folklore. Eight of Swords. Kills by drowning and can sink ships. Controls the seas and the winds. Will spare any life by request. Sink the ship and save the people. Six of Cups in reverse. The whole deck is in reverse. At the bottom of the deck, Fornius. Teaches rhetoric and languages, gives one a good reputation, makes one beloved by friends and foes. Speaking of the bearded serpent, 1111 E. I've been seeing that number 1111 like yesterday a lot, and on the 11th a lot. Today was like 111. Ooh. Sorry, one second. It's very warm. How much time do I got left on this video? I have like 4.5 hours left. That's how long I was at work today. That's funny. It's very sink the ship, save the people. The inventor goes to the jester. The jester is a representative of the divine because the inventor is like, again, how it can be difficult for us to understand the reasons and why things happen sometimes. The ever mysterious nature of the divine, even when there are some parts that we feel we know or we connect to or blah, 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 whatever. The inventor goes to the divine, approaches the divine, gets an audience from the divine. And it feels like there's something that happens that the inventor can't make sense of. And it feels like the inventor is like, I can see the reason and the purpose behind this, and that. But what is the reason for this? It's like the inventor can see no reason why this happened or occurred or is happening. And I feel like that line is coming with the sink the ship, save the people. Because he's associated with drowning and sinking ships, but he will spare any life by request. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You found a deck you used back in 2009? Oh, snap. I was going to say I wasn't even alive in 2009. That is not accurate information. I was indeed alive. I was 16. I wasn't using, I mean, I just got my first deck in at the end of 2018. Did you use it? Have you used it? I think there's another thing too. So there's that line. But also, it feels like the divine is handing the jester a blank slate. I think I talked about this one before, though. I think this is the first one that I landed on. When it's like it's an empty canvas. Well, at first, it was the energy of like we never create anything new because we're always recreating what already is. But I think that's another thing about the jester. Um, it feels like the jester is the shadow diver and the star climber. There's a great depth to the jester, and a good jester, like the entry said, is like it's so smart, it's so aware. The presence that's one of like the stand-up comedian, because anything that happens, it has to become a part of the act. It brings it all into the show. So it is a very wide, far-reaching sort of net or umbrella. What is this supposed to? What is this video turning into? I think ultimately, more or less, that's everything I wanted to say. Everything that. Oh, you put them up and you just shot them. Okay. Oof. It got put in timeout for 20. No, not 20 yet. For some number of years. I can't math. It was put in timeout. I'm like, are you going to be a good deck now, or do you got to put you back in the box? The box of shame. I kind of want to use the that Spencer's Tarot deck. I thought about using that deck not too long ago. I don't feel like reaching for anything right now though, so that's why I was like, the first thing I pick up, I'm just gonna use it. A Divine Comedy. I think the Jester is telling. The Jester is going to tell the inventor that the reason why he can't see the purpose or the reason behind something is because he's too close to it. Because, like, look how serious he looks. It's like if you look at my shirt, right? And all you see is this, like, this is this. But, like, if I bring my shirt super close, this is all you're going to see. When I step back, you can see, it's plaid, it's pretty nice, it's decent. And when I roll up the sleeves, it has like this button right here where it's like this thing under the sleeve where I can like keep the sleeve rolled up. Now, putting Fulcrum or whatever his name was back in the deck, I'm gonna shuffle him too. Goodbye. Now, moving this to the next phase, this is all the same person. Who is this? Are you serious? Are you serious? Who is this? I don't immediately see the names for some of these. I mean, she looked like Justice, but the Arbiter. So, moving this to the next level, this is all within one person. Oh, snap! It's a Rob Odinson. What is Sir Professor No Power Odinson Skywalker of the Norse? Hello. How are you this evening? I'm surprised you're not asleep. What time is it? Early to bed, early to rise, right? Now this is all within one person. The inventor is the one who wants to create and manifest something. The jester is the one that they have to go about bringing it about. And it was partially the line about how the jester makes sense out of nonsense and muddies the water with clarity. And to do that, again, it's this energy of like that which is yet to be manifest that is trying to sort of like come into the world. With the Star Climber. So the thing about the Star Climber and the Arbiter behind it is that there is a certain diligence to this inventor. This inventor doesn't want to sully. You're in the process of falling asleep. Okay. I have heard that I put people to sleep sometimes, so you're welcome. So this inventor wants to get to the truth of whatever this thing is, and that's star climber energy. So it's almost like instead of facing this energy down here, where it's easier to conceive and rationalize in a nice 3D friendly sort of compatibility mode, if we're talking about computers, which we weren't, but I feel like it came up at some point. It probably didn't, but that's how I feel. Because, like if you make a document on like Word 2016, it's like a doc X. But if you do a Word on like Windows 99 or whatever, it's like just doc. And it's like, would you like to save this in compatibility mode so that you can use it on older versions of this software? And you can say yes, or you can say no. So instead of trying to get like the watered down compatibility mode, he's going up with this star climber energy to see it for the truth of what it is. And that's this arbiter, like it's more balanced, it's closer, it's truer to what it was originally intended to be. It's less filtered through whatever lens, that would distort it. And the reason why I was like, oh my gosh, what? Is because after the arbiter is a second blank card. I'm like, how many blank cards exist in this deck? I really didn't think I would hit a second blank after after the first one was reached. But now we got 3 cards. First it was 2 cards in the blank. Now it's 3 in the blank. Okay. This is sorry. It's a Patrick thing. I got a receipt in my pocket. Is this McDonald's? From this morning. Purchased at 11:08 a.m. Any numbers on here? I've been seeing lots of 2s and 8s lately. My half birthday is coming up. The day before my half birthday is the new moon in Virgo. I think I'm going to take no. This was breakfast. So actually, it wasn't breakfast because, I was too late for breakfast. It was a spicy crispy chicken sandwich because it was $5 on the app. Oh, they got that buy one get one double quarter pounder with cheese, or buy one double quarter pounder with cheese get one for 29 cents on the app. I was like, who's sharing? I was like, Sandra. Close. There's an S and an A and an R and an N in there. Rob's like, I'm just playing. What's interesting about this is, though, the inventor becomes the jester. And I'm saying that because the inventor is very like sepia, right? But in the star climber, we have like the sepia and the browns that eventually become green. I don't know if you can see that green tint. Yeah, you kind of can. It's like there's a tint of green at the top, and this is the blue. So we're starting to bring in some of these greens and some of the blues here. There isn't any red yet. But so that's this. And last week it was a lot of movement and higher perspectives. Higher perspectives came out a few times, and then it was like movement and higher perspectives, and it was like movement to a higher perspective and also movement with a higher perspective, with higher things in mind. And honestly, with the second blank card, it's a question of like, what do you want to create? Because it feels like at first the adventure is like, what's happening. That's that metaphysical inquiry with an E that leads to this blank spot. And this justice has the sword and the scales. But this justice also doesn't necessarily feel like us. You know what I mean? I feel like I just heard a bird chirp. And it's very late, so that probably did not happen. I want to put something here. I had an idea for the spread that I wanted to build. And I have the direction that it's going to go in now. So the thing about muddying water with clarity is interesting. That feels like a harsh truth, something that we don't want to believe. You know what I mean? It can be a harsh truth. It can be something that we don't want to believe. It's something that causes other beliefs into question. Also, I think sometimes too, and that's why the water would get muddy with clarity, because it's something that we would like think we already know. There's a Neptunian energy in here somewhere. So. My birthstone is amethyst, I think. I feel like it's amethyst. But every now and then they try to give me, I think, the Aquarius birthstone. Maybe because I'm a February Pisces. And I don't know if like amethyst is supposed to be for March. I just thought all Pisces got amethyst. I want it to be amethyst. I resonate with it being amethyst because I want it to be amethyst. I was like, turquoise, no thank you. Or aquamarine. Okay, I can get down with a turquoise if I have to. I can get down with an aquamarine if I have to. Ooh. Yeah, it's amethyst. February is amethyst. So is March the one that's different? 3 birthstones. Aquamarine is for March. Okay. I think that's the one that somebody tried to give me one time. I was like, I'm more of an amethyst girl. Bloodstone. Yeah, see, this says traditionally for March, it's bloodstone. Modernly for March, it's aquamarine. But for February, it's amethyst. Traditionally and modernly. So I don't think I mentioned it. There are a lot of coils in this dragon. Like the ladder is straightforward, but there are a lot of twists and turns here, which is why I think Jester perspective would be nice. When you think like the Jester, it's a ladder. If you don't think like the Jester, it feels like each one of these is a different sort of like whirlpool trap that one could fall into. And then the energy becomes very that one dude in the Mausolea Oracle of Souls who had basically lost his mind. Um, And it was like he rants in this place and nobody understands him. And even if he tried to tell people, like, they wouldn't get it or something like that. And it was the energy of like, it's like when you reach this space, there's a clarity. Because there was the wise man, the one who had no illusion about who he was in life or in death. No illusion about who he was. It's giving me Jester energy because of the clarity and making sense out of the nonsense. But the other one who's like got the same information, but just like could not get it to compute. It's like it fried his brain. And I think sometimes it's like, it's about the things that we need to, it's like it's about beliefs. And again, like it feels like there's a fine line between like accepting paradox and being a hypocrite. Or it feels like there's a fine line between a paradox that moves one up the ladder and a paradox that like gets one to sort of just like circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 6 swirlies and then the star. And I think that's why the arbiter is here with her scales. Sword meaning logic and belief and thought. The scales being like the balancing of those logics. And it's almost like maybe there are certain beliefs or logics, or there are certain things that we hold on to as true, that when we're exposed to other things, it's like to continue to hold on to that belief makes it so incredibly easy to misconstrue or to missee, mishear, misinterpret whatever the information is. And that is a little Gemini Sagittarius axis energy, nodal axis energy, a little bit. And then it feels like the Jester would say, well, who told you that was true? Who told you that what you think is truth is true? Because I could queue up a set of experiences for you that would have you questioning that real quick. And you can continue to believe it, but I'm going to look before and after the hypocrite, because apparently that is a card in this deck. Some of these names elude me. Oh, the Falcon. Oh, we just have Falcor, or whoever his name was. Oh, look at it. Oh, look at it. Okay, sorry. I caught a glimpse of the hypocrite when I was looking for. Here he is. Who is this? Oh, the trickster. The trickster is close to the hypocrite. The jester and the trickster are not one and the same. They are not interchangeable. And then the dreamer. I just started watching Morpheus. He's the endless, the dreamer, the dreaming. They really kept that being. See, I feel like that's the like stuff like Morpheus and the greed of mankind is the reason why angels don't even too much come down here and visit us no more. They'd be like, we will help and love you and assist you from afar. You'll get a dream. Back in the day, people was getting visited. They were like, oh my gosh. And the angel was like, do not fear. I know my appearance is frightening to someone of your kind, I guess. I don't know. But now the angel's like, oh, we'll send you a feather. We'll send you some numbers on the clock. We'll send you a dream. You know, you might pull a card, but yeah, we ain't popping up no more because y'all folks crazy down there. I'm kidding. Um, so here's the hypocrite, looking very hierophantic. We have the warrior and the survivor. The warrior and the survivor are by the hypocrite. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I just thought about it again. Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like if one of those angels showed up in a dream, looking like that, I'd be like, I'm trying not to. I've been working on the whole like not being afraid or whatever thing, a little bit, but like y'all know, I'm gonna need some time. Like, ease me into it because my mind might fracture just like right there. Like, eyes burn out. Masaka's like, you can have these eyes. You can have the brain. I don't want to. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Like, send a nice looking angel first. You know what I mean? Or just like do what Cupid did. Like, be out. Oh no, never mind. I would say like be out in the dark and just talk to me. But that, honestly, knowing me, that probably wouldn't work much better. So anyway, um, it's interesting because the warrior makes me think of the siren. So with the hypocrite, like this is where the jester, it's the trickster. The trickster is behind this. The trickster gets the hypocrite to look at this and become well versed in it. The jester takes the inventor on this star climbing journey to see the truth of that siren. So the inventor gets this, but the trickster gets the hypocrite to see this, and that's this, right? Because that was the thing about the inventor. It's like to see the truth of that energy and not a diluted, watered down, misconstrued, whatever version, right? And the jester's like, okay. Trickster's like, no. And I don't necessarily think it's the jester or the trickster. I think sometimes, not always, it's more us. Because on the other side of that is the survivor. And the survivor is very much so bringing the energy of the things that the hypocrite needs to be true. There are things that this warrior holds on to and clings on to because that's all they know, because they had to fight and work so hard. That's how they make sense out of the world. That's why it's just like it's so easy for that hypocrite energy to miss it, though. Or that's how it gets lost in those loops. I don't have a PO box, but I feel like I recall Rob opening one question mark. I could be wrong though. Oh, you don't? Oh, so you had one? Okay, but not anymore. Yeah, I think my mom has one. Well, I know she had one. I don't know if she still has it because she was talking about closing it for a while. So the Four of Swords comes out for the hypocrite. Kaim, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Teaches grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Can make one appear like a soldier. Can make one appear like a soldier. And then we have the warrior. This is the dude who's coming out for the hypocrite. And it's the Four of Swords. It's comfortable. It's cozy. In the sword suit, it's probably the nicest card. And look, the hypocrite is just fine sitting where he is. But it doesn't help. I'm actually gonna read that one. I'm actually, I think the book's literally like, it literally just has the same thing. It's number 66, which is a master number. Samaris. Is this Greek? Where did the R come from? Yeah, it's literally just, it tells you how to pronounce it. Oh, snap. I had a Palo Santo candle. I got it for graduation. My aunt gave it to me. But every time, I think I've talked to a few people, and I think we have come to the conclusion that I don't let candles burn long enough. Because I'll light a candle one, two, maybe like twice. By the third time, there's no wick. Like the wick just burns off. And I can't light the candle because there's nothing to light. It's just this curled black thing that drops. I'm like, okay, well, that was a nice 2 times I got to light that candle. Teaches grammar, logic, and rhetoric, can make one appear like a soldier. I almost wonder if this is why that other one is sink the ship, save the people. Because when the ship is sinking, the truth of the one who, like, the soldier will respond, will act. The one who appears to be a soldier won't, in the context of this. And so they'll be with everybody else. And everybody else will be like, well, aren't you the soldier here? Aren't you the one who's well versed? Aren't you the one who's been through it a million times? Like, aren't you the one who knows what to do right now? And then the hypocrite's like, no, it was this one person that just taught me how to look like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. And it's like, okay, well. But again, that's the thing. The trickster gets the hypocrite to meet the energy here. And so there's only so much like depth that has. But it's just like it plays on comfortability. Trickster knows that this person doesn't want to actually get up and move. Trickster knows that this person is comfortable and they ain't going nowhere. Trickster's like, if I tell them that I can get them everything that they want and they ain't got to do nothing, they'll take it. Because they're not the type of person to ask questions. It's like, oh, I can get it just by doing a few simple things. Like, oh, yeah, like sign me up. Hello. Who wouldn't do this? And then for a time, maybe everything is good and Gucci. But then when stuff starts to go down, that without substance is sure to show it. But it's not an earthly. That's why, like, I'm looking at the Jester, and the color of the root is on the head. I'm taking it as red, or even if it's sacral, the color of the lower chakra is on the head, and it's like, shouldn't like the boots be red because like that's where the earth is, and if like the root is grounding, like who knows? Oh snap! Well, I didn't say I wouldn't like them. It was just that like I can't get a candle to burn more than like twice, unfortunately. Who's at the bottom of the deck? I think I saw a part of it. Seer, Six of Swords. Oh, travels the world over in an instant and brings anything anywhere. Gives the truth about thefts, and hidden treasures, willing to do anything one commands. Here's the Six of Swords. So the Hypocrite is coming out with probably two of the best cards in the sword suit. The Four of Swords, peace after the storm, calm after the storm, and the Six of Swords, movement to calmer waters. But the six and the four that the hypocrite or that the trickster's bringing the hypocrite ultimately ends in the Ten of Swords. And it's interesting how, see, the thing about Seer that seems real interesting is that it can travel the world in an instant and it can take anything anywhere. But then it gives the truth about thefts and hidden treasures. So again, that's that like Nyx energy of temptation. Where it's like Seer will be like, oh, like I can tell you where something that is worth quite a bit is. And not only can I tell you where it is, I can also retrieve it for you instantly. But then after that, the mother of pearl or that $1 trillion diamond goes missing, Seer is like, oh yeah, I took that to this person. Oh yeah, I took that to the hypocrite. The hypocrite has it. Go looking for the hypocrite. And it feels like this is a setup. Like that's how it can reveal the truth about thefts. It's because Seer is the one that people send to go get the thing in the first place. It's like, ooh. See, that's what it's like when you work with less than savory energy, more often than not, it comes back to bite you. But it's not even necessarily about working with less than savory energy. It's about like when we take shortcuts. Or it's not when we take shortcuts necessarily. It's just like it's the trap of comfort and convenience, and it's the trap of everything we know. Especially when we're living in times where so much is subject to change. To create anything based off of things that are well established is probably risky in a time where everything is literally changing. Where what was established and what is established is kind of sort of teetering and on the verge of falling apart if it hasn't already. And if the times were the same as they were, then maybe, yeah, you can replicate it. You can do the exact same thing and get results. But it's like, no, they're changing. Which is, again, like that's why the Jester takes the inventor up the star climber path. The Jester isn't doing it for funsies. The Jester isn't doing it to give the inventor a hard time. But that's also, I guess, the difference between the inventor and the hypocrite. I don't know. Anyway. So wait, was that the one? Because I know there was like a video that you posted outside with the owl, I think. All right, have a good night, Rob. Yeah. And then I think there was like a longer video. So did you record the longer one? Because I think you titled it like the owl pop. Wait, did I watch that one? Or no, did you leave it? No. Yeah. Was that the one that you put it in the comment where it's like the owl is the spirit totem animal that means stuff that I forgot. It was a minute ago. So was the 8-minute one the one that was you did outside? Wait, did I watch? No, that was a picture. Wait, did I watch it? No, I'm like, I feel like I'm having all these different memories come to my brain. And I'm like, because I know I started it. But sometimes I'll start a video and then I'll just like do other stuff while I'm listening to it, like play a game. Oh, we got the strong man. The 9 of Cups. This will be the last card from this deck. And it's for us. Teaches logic, ethics, and the value of herbs and stones. Can make one invisible. Helps one to be intelligent and long-lived. Can recover lost items and find treasures. Ooh. You posted the album, you posted the reading after. Okay. That's what I thought. That's how I thought it went. But in my brain, trying to remember right now, it's like it's getting all jumbled up. It's getting all mixed up. You see how he can like find treasures, recover lost items, and find treasures. It feels like this is the antithesis to that Six of Swords energy. The hypocrite is deceived by the trickster into using whatever that Six of Swords energy is to take. And it's interesting because this one teaches logic and ethics along with the value of herbs and stones. So there's your Palo Santo and your crystals, herbs and stones. Um, and so it feels like even if it is something that was wrongfully taken, the jester still leads the inventor on a path of reclaiming those things in an energy that is suitable for the having of those things. Because the energy that we put into acquiring something is the energy that it's going to have when we get it. So, if we're taking shortcuts and using less than scrupulous methods to get it, it's going to, like when we do get it, that energy is going to persist. You know what I mean? Never mind. I don't have to go there. It's fine. We can avoid that. Oh, chili pepper. Um, and then it feels like Forrest will take it back. And that's probably when the Six of Swords is like, oh, yeah, well, this person told me to take it and they summoned me, so I had to do it. Because if they do the magic right, then we got to do whatever they say. It's like, okay, well, sure. Who's at the bottom of the deck? The Sun. Nine of Cups and the Sun. Makes one rich, smart, and well spoken, gathers spirits at tombs, and changes the places of the dead. What does that mean? What does changes the places of the dead mean? Does that mean like it can take, if this is Greco-Roman, like it could take somebody from like Tartarus to the fields of Elysium or something like that? From like hell to heaven? I don't know. And then this, and the rest of the, oh, I got reversals in here. That's fine. What was this? The High Priestess was in reverse. Or not in reverse, she was face down. Can change places of the dead. There was that one that I was talking about, the one that fell, that was talking about rising, and everybody was like, "What are you talking about? There is no rise. There was only the fall. You're crazy. Like you shouldn't have fell if you wanted to go back, because ain't no going back." But with this changing places of the dead, maybe it's just that energy. What does that mean? Makes one rich, smart, and well spoken. And then one that teaches logic, ethics, and the value of herbs and stones. See again, like I feel like that's the energy of. I mean, it was already the energy of the. All right, good night, Steph. May beautiful things find you, sweet dreams and sweet realities when you wake. Excuse me. But this is what the jester does for the inventor. This is what the trickster fails to do for the hypocrite. But I feel like the trickster, and it's in part because if the trickster was like, "Hey, you're gonna have to learn this, learn that, learn this other thing," the hypocrite would be like, "No, that's too much. I'll just find somebody else." Like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll get it another way." And then, but anyway, because there's a logic and there's an ethics behind this rich, smart, and well-spoken energy. And it makes me think of how it's like the divine gives to the King of Pentacles because the King of Pentacles understands that it's to be shared. Anyway, this sign, I feel like in a lot of ways it's not so esoteric, right? It's like if you put in the work and you actually do the thing, then you'll know how to do it. But if you, it's like the soldier, right? If you go through basic training, and you go through boot camp, and then you get experience on the battlefield, it's a metaphor. We don't have to think about it. What getting experience on the battlefield means. Um, when the time comes, you'll be able to perform, rather than like if you get on Amazon and you get a costume and you go to some other website and you buy you get the costumes and the medals and the papers, and then you decorate yourself in the guise of the warrior. But since you haven't been through training and you don't have that experience, when the time comes to act, it's just like, well, then the hypocrite wouldn't know what to do. You know what I mean? And I was talking about looking for work when I was talking about looking for work a few months ago. And I was asking several people for like, tips or whatever, because I like to do that. And somebody was like, he wasn't like just lie on your resume, but he kind of sort of was like lie. He was like, if you got to lie, do it. And then you can always learn whatever you need to learn when you're doing the thing. And I'm like, oof, I don't know how I feel about that because I have a weak conscience. Like it ain't that strong when it come to me doing wrong. It just isn't. And then I was like, well, what if they ask me? It's like if you lie, you gotta keep lying. Lying ain't something that you do one time. Because anytime it comes up, you gotta lie, and then you gotta remember the lies. And then, universe forbid, you face a situation where somebody is of some kind of status or statue there, and they're like, oh, we know exactly who's gonna be able to help us. It's the person that lied about it. And then everyone's gathered around to watch you perform, and it's like, oof, girl. Then the truth comes out. It's like, okay, well, hope you enjoyed your riches while you had them, because they're gone now. And it's ultimately like it feels like in the end, it doesn't take much more energy to actually do the thing. And there's just something I feel like in this in particular, it's so hard to find fault in any person. And it's not that we always have to assign fault or blame, but it's just like we don't know what we don't know and we believe what we believe. And with the distance of the divine, like we only have our own intuition and discernment to go off of sometimes. And we can trust others and hope that they lead us in the right way. And so then it's like, well, they were there. It sounded right. It sounded accurate. And it's like, oof, but what about the divine in you? Like, I don't know. We all do the best we can with what we know and what we're given. But I think, because I was just thinking about that today too. My word for 2021 was indescribable. I just remembered what my word was earlier today when I was at work for 4.5 hours on a Saturday. It's fine. I was like, my word for 2021 was indescribable. And I made my word indescribable. So my journey buddy, she makes a word for the new year, and then like the year, and then after her birthday. Her birthday is in April. So like her year 30 word, and then her year 2025 word. You know what I mean? And I think for last year, I think they were both the same. But my word for 2021 slash 28, I think I was 28 last year. Yeah, because I'm 29 now. Was indescribable because I wanted to end the year in a position that I wouldn't have even imagined at the beginning of the year. That's why I made it indescribable, right? And so I was thinking about everything that I've had to do at this job, all of the, just like everything, and how like I had to face an old fear, and I had to come into the energy of at least trying before I just cry, give up, and run away. Because that's not how I want to live my life anymore. I missed so much of my life out of fear. And ooh, when that fear came back, it felt just like it did in 2018. I ain't been depressed since 2018. Dark nights ain't been as dark since 2018. Because after that, I was like, everything was changing. But when that came back, November 2021, ooh, I was like, oh my God. I did not miss this. I did not miss this. And I really almost made the same choices and decisions that I did back then. And it's thanks to my mom and my family too for helping me talk through with me. And she was like, ultimately it's your life and it's your job. Like if you want to go find something else, you can. But the more I considered it and the more I thought about it, the more I was like, and I did it here live on whatever day in like November that was. I know it was like the day before Thanksgiving, so it might have been around Thanksgiving 2021, um, or somewhere in November 2021. And I was like, I don't want to make those choices and decisions anymore because I know what that life looks like. And so I did have an indescribable 2021. I would not believe that I would be doing the work that I'm doing. I don't even think I'd necessarily believe that I'd be doing work like using my degree in some capacity. Because honestly, at the beginning of 2021, I had just gotten my degree that took me 9 years to get. So, but to have an indescribable year, to end the year in a place that I wouldn't even imagine or be able to conceive of, I had to be in a position to make choices and decisions that I never would have made before. So when I was asking for something so indescribably different or more or better, at the same time, I was asking for those situations to have me making those choices, to living outside of fear, to not procrastinating away opportunities. And I think that's the thing about like the inventor and the jester. And I think that's why the hypocrite can so easily fall prey to the trickster. Our comfortabilities is at the heart of this, and those sort of determine how far we go. Comfortabilities in experience and in belief. So our last archeos, we have the strategist. Ooh, okay. Inventor with a brain. I mean, inventor got a brain, but inventor with a brain for getting something done, I guess. And the moon cat. Bottom of the deck is the illuminator and healing. Ooh, and under that is Anima Animus. And I'll tell you why I took Anima Animus. So first I see the moon and the sun. The moon and the moon cat, the sun and the illuminator. Anima Animus, the sun and the moon. That's why I took them. Or I took it. And then with the moon cat is the strategist. With the illuminator is the healer. Healing illuminates the things. That I feel like this is literally what I just said. Anima and animus is spirit, but anima is feminine, animus is masculine, animum would be neutral. It almost feels like the anima is reaching out to the animus, but the animus is like, oh, no, thank you. Hold up. Animus is like, what you doing with that hand, lady? Back up. She's like, hold my hand, dear. Like, I don't know you. We don't even recognize ourselves sometimes. Oh, the eccentric is behind the anima animus. Okay. So the strategist is it's us in the spirit of the inventor. It's us not having the resources necessarily ourselves because it feels like the inventor would, or the inventor knows how to cobble something together to, make do. The strategist is the one who has to acquire externally. And so the strategist puts a plan in motion. It feels like Mooncat is the part of the divine to fill in the missing pieces, to provide what it is that we're needing, or to let us know where it is so we can go there and get it. Right. And so when we go to these different spots or these different positions, when the divine either move, it's like when divine tells us to make a move on the chessboard, or when we make a move on the chessboard, and then the divine makes a move on the chessboard. Because again, the inventor didn't know, right? So maybe this is the same inventor. Because when he first encountered the jester, he ain't know what was going on, and the jester was like, I could show you better than I could tell you, because if I tried to use words to tell you, it would muddy the water with the truth that I speak. So this is a truth that can be witnessed. And then you can reevaluate your own beliefs rather than me telling you what to believe. You know what I mean? That energy. So the strategist gets to that position, and it with this healer or with the illuminator, it feels like the healing illuminates the thing. The healing brings the light to these situations that we don't know why we're in. It's like, why am I here? What am I doing here? What do I have to gain from this? Like, literally watch the, it was either 5 minutes or 9 minute video I made, like in the backyard, in the side yard, and then on the porch, or in the back, in the front, and then on the porch, where I talked about it. Because again, this was my indescribable 2021. And then that healing begets more healing, and that healing begets more healing, and that healing begets more healing, and then we become the one who's capable of moving in those directions, who's capable of acquiring or receiving whatever. We have to increase our capacity to be able to hold it. And it feels like the more we can do that, the closer our anima and animus become. And it feels like the anima is the one who's able to receive intuition and discernment. And then the animus is the one who initiates or activates or acts, who does. And it's that case where it's like our intuition will tell us to do something that we don't feel comfortable with, so we don't do it. So then they're not aligned. Or it's like where our actions don't speak to the truth of who we are. And so the animus and the anima, it's like within our ability to create. within the small piece of the creator that we hold within us. Those two things need to be on the same page for the smooth transition of things from the spiritual, metaphysical, and logical into reality, right? From a dream, from an intuition, from a knowing, from an idea to manifested reality. These two things need to be in line. And it feels like without that illuminator, without that healing, we just be wandering around in the dark trying to find whatever we're looking for. And not understanding why we're put in the positions that we're put in. Again, that's what makes the inventor feel like, or that's what makes the strategist feel like the inventor. But it was when the inventor didn't know. What's interesting is, though, the jester led the inventor up the star climber to the stars. The illuminator is the sun. So I don't know if the healing, it's almost like chicken or the egg. If the healing begets illumination or if the illumination begets healing, or if they beget each other. They've both been begotten. Another thing is, it feels like just comfortability in general. It doesn't have to be that way. Um, but everything that the strategist plans, he plans it within his own knowing. And so the strategist needs to be open to going off of the board or to using more than just the strategies in the book or whatever. Because, Gemini North Node will say that life isn't always the same as Gemini or Sagittarius South Node would theorize it to be. Sometimes in real life, things are a little different because there are complexities and nuances that it's like because every single situation is different. We can make generalizations about them and we can teach based off of those generalizations. But once you go out into the field, once you go out into the world, it's like that's the difference between the soldier and the one who dresses up as one. Like the soldier can sort of like adapt because that's what was instilled in them in their training. Like there was a part where it's like everything that you need to learn, but then there's the part where it's like using what you learn in real time, in real life, in those situations, because it's not always going to be ideal. And but it's like still having that progress, still having that movement, still having that momentum. That's for the soldier, that's what sort of illuminates. And it's because of that healing that pathways become visible that are otherwise in the dark can't be seen. But the divine speaks to all of us. So even if you haven't gone through the training in the program or whatever, even if you've been dressing up, like the divine still speaks to you. At some point, it's just like, where's the follow through? Or the expansion of that perspective. And again, it's just like a lot of this feels so far outside of our norm or our usual or what we would even know to be able to see, where it's like that's why it feels like there isn't, like I said earlier, it's like it's not about blaming or finding fault or whatever. It's like, we can play blame games if we want. It doesn't ultimately get us anywhere. Or we can move and we can go, okay, what do I need to do to move right now? Because blaming 15 other people isn't going to get me anywhere. It's just going to keep me where I am with that Four of Swords hypocrite energy. These were at the bottom. I don't know. It's just like it's understandable because life is hard and difficult, and life can be difficult and hard. And if we don't have to like work hard, why would we? I'm a Taurus moon and rising, and I'm a Pisces sun. I got all the chill placements. I got the chill placements. Now my Venus in Aries in my 12th house. Oof. Deep in the 12th house too. It's different. My Mars and Cancer. My Venus and Mars are both cardinal. My Venus and Mars are one, both cardinal, but two, both in places that they don't really want to be in. Like my Venus is in Aries and my Mars is in Cancer. So, but we make it work. It's been a time and I'm learning to make them work. I mean, if I don't work, ain't nothing gonna work. That was a given. Or it should have been a given. I don't know if it was, it should have been, but now that things are moving and working and we're going places, I can use them. I don't know. Like when I first, at the end of 2018, discovered my birth chart, I was like, oh, I got all these placements all over the place. That's why I can't whatever. And I used to not like my chart too much, but here within the past, year and a half, 2 years, I love my chart. I'm so glad I got the layout that I got. Because with Patrick, it makes sense. And that's why I'd be like, if spirit is working with me, they know me. So if I'm going to be a little resistant, if I'm going to roll my eyes and be like, whatever, they probably just wait. They're like, oh, he'll come around. And if Patrick doesn't come around, guess what? That's Patrick's loss. Anyway. How can we receive things that we've never dreamed of, experienced, or whatever, and not do? It's like that's one of those things. I think I talked about it closer to the jump of this video, where it's like there are things that we as people sort of do, but then there are things that we expect or that we demand that don't make sense, that don't line up with what it is that we're asking for. Like in what reality could I tell spirit, I want my year to be indescribable. I want to end the year in a position that I wouldn't even be able to think of, fathom, imagine, dream of at the start of the year. And then in the same breath, at the same time, not be required to, not be asked to do anything that I've never done before. How am I going to have a completely indescribable experience doing everything that I've been doing up until that point in my life? Because at some point it would have eventually given me that, right? It's like one of those, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Trickster is like, it's a lot of insane people down there and they'll play with us. And Jester is like, if you wanted them insane ones, you need to go see the Trickster because you're not going to have much fun here. You're not going to like my jokes. If you're insane, you're not going to like my jokes. And you'll think the Trickster is hilarious. And again, there's so much just understanding of the human condition and experience. But again, at the same time, in the same breath, it's like, how can we receive any more? How can we create any more? How can we experience any more if we don't do anything differently? How do we expect to have both at the same time? So, me too. So, Mm-hmm. So look for the Percy's. I just saw on YouTube. It was in the news section where stuff just pops up. It was oh, where to view the Perseids. And it was they'll peak on the 11th and 12th. And I saw it yesterday. And I was gonna click on the video. But then I forgot. I went to sleep So maybe you'll see some. All right, this is what I got. I feel like this isn't initially. This isn't initially. I feel like this isn't especially um, what I don't know what I'm supposed to be sharing. Honestly, I just keep saying, seeing share. I'm like, share what? If you give me something to talk about, I can tell you my opinion and perspective, and I can tell you my experiences. My experiences are not going to be the same as yours necessarily, because I am me and you are you. If you're not Patrick Woodson, the Patrick Woodson that I am, if you're not me, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the same results. I can guarantee you might not, because Patrick is a very particular one in the nicest way. You know, I was also today, I was thinking about my Taurus moon and my Pisces, no, my Mercury and Pisces with my Taurus moon. And how, like, if I get mad or upset, I can remember everything. I know everything that you've ever done to me. And it's just like boom, 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 boom. Like, remember when you did this and you did that and blah, 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 blah. Because I found that out because I used to have so many arguments with my one friend. And he was like, oh, sorry, I'm not keeping track of everything you do. I was like, I'm not keeping track either. But I think that's low key because so my moon in Taurus is at 27 degrees. So it's close ish. It's in like a degree and a half or from Algol. It's fine. But my Mercury is at 24 degrees. So they sextile. My Mercury in the 12th house. My Mercury is in my 12th house, sextiling my first house moon. How does that happen? How does the first house and the 12th house sextile when it's just one house away? Because all of Aries is in my 12th house. I have Aries in conjuncted in my chart, Aries and Libra. So my 12th house is huge. It starts in Pisces and it ends in Taurus. So it's like all that Neptunian fog. It's like, Neptunian fog is evenly dispersed. Where I know some of the good stuff, I know some of the bad stuff at any point in time, you know. But when that Taurus moon is triggered, it's like all the fog lifts from the bad things and it gets pushed to the good things. And so my Mercury and Pisces is like, doo 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 doo. Here is the list of everything that every way you've ever wronged me. Here it is. Everything I've ever been upset about with you, here it is. For your convenience. I use Placidus because I don't. I mean, when I started, it was Placidus. And I don't know, it makes sense to me. Excuse me. So that's why. I mean, I'm sure maybe I could find some sense in the equal house system, but I don't know. Honestly, Placidus was the default setting. I'm gonna be real honest. I'm not afraid of being seen as a hypocrite because when you embrace paradox, sometimes you're a little hypocritical. I try to be more paradoxical than hypocritical, and I try to. Yes. After I finish this live, probably, yeah.
Did you know that Closer to Land game came out?
No.
I just heard about it.
Oh, snap.
Saw somebody playing up and I forget it. That game was just
Oh. So I will catch y'all when I catch y'all. I think maybe I'll just start. I feel like I do that anyway. Not all. Oh. See. Because I would say, like, I feel like I share a lot of stuff anyway. There are some things that I don't. There are some things that I feel like are my experience. And not that no one else has that experience, not that no one else can relate, but for me, it feels a little Ace of Cupsy. You know what I mean? So, and we all have our own whatevers. So I'm like, I don't think I'm trying. I don't know. We'll see. If Siri says tails, I'll consider it. If Siri says heads, I definitely won't. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
It's tails.
Oof. I said I would consider it. I don't know. I just feel like I don't. It's me. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. Ace of Cups, I need to embrace even mercy. I feel like honestly, so if I'm doing a reading and there might be some things I've watched some of my readings back and I'll get really excited about a certain part of the read because I'll be like, oh, this is where this one energy came out. And I'll watch it and I don't talk about it at all. I don't say it at all. And I'm like, I thought I mentioned it. I thought I talked about it. And it was like, no, that conversation was all in here. I was like, oh wow. But also like with the general nature, I feel like I like to take advantage of the general nature of some readings where it's like I feel like I don't necessarily have to provide every single detail. Like I feel like I don't necessarily have to mention every single little thing that comes across or that comes to me as sort of whatever, because that's for the viewer to fill in or to receive or to do whatever they do. Like it's if it resonates for them, then the conversation will carry on. And that's how I view or how I engage with resonance and a general reading. For me on this channel, it's very much the attitude of like anything that I don't say, if I don't dig deeper, if I don't go further, that's something within that person that they will know. And then they can continue on down that path and that line. But I don't know if, because I'm only me and I only have my experience, right? So for me, like there are conversations that continuously happen. Um, just like I've talked about it, like something will come out and I won't like how Pachamama came out one day. Pachamama comes out and I'm like, I don't really know who Pachamama is. And then the next day, my mom was like, look at these people on TikTok who are going up to these trees and telling the trees to touch them, and the trees are touching people. Ain't no wind or whatever trees out here touching people. And then someone who's like, it's about time we realize how connected we are to nature and the animals and everything. And I was like, oh, Pachamama, is that you? Is you showing me who you is? And so for me, like in dreams and thoughts and musings, as I'm working and my mind is just going, or as if I hear somebody say something like, in my experience, things will continue to unfold. And so I kind of sort of leave it to do the same here. But I mean, I would imagine, I honestly don't know. Cause like that's why I sort of just like leave some things. It's like if it resonates for you, your universe, the divine will clarify, break it down further. You can take that even further. I don't have to take you all the way. Because if I go all the way down one path, then it's like now it might resonate for you, but it don't for the three other people watching. I'm kidding. But yeah, some of that stuff it doesn't feel like it's my responsibility. Not my responsibility. It feels like it's not my place to mention. And that's another time when I might not go like all the way, or I might not talk about everything. Because like I told y'all, that Queen of Cups in the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, when I first started running somebody through those major spreads I built, the Queen of Cups would pop up like, this is not your place. It's not your place to speak on this. It's not your place to go any further than here. And so I have to honor that. I'm like, this feels like this is between you and God. This is between you and your ancestors. This is between you and your spirit team. And it's something that I don't have access to. Now, could I try to like keep pulling cards and like, could I try to like fill into it? Maybe, probably. But am I going to do that? No. I'm going to respect whatever. Because what happens if, while I'm digging around in your energy and in your space, I see something that means one thing to me, but it means something completely different, unique, and special for you. But I tell you about that thing, and then I give you my interpretation of the thing. I give you what that thing means to me, and I tell you this is what it means for you. Now, here's this amazing sign, symbol, synchronicity, whatever, that your spirit connected to the spirits that it's connected to had to you to take you on, that now I have muddied, that I have made unclear. And if you trust me, and if you trust my word, and if you trust my connection, and especially if you doubt your own connection, or if it's just something that it's a little more outside of the realm of what you was like, what was on your mind, if you take my word over what your intuition and discernment is telling you, now that's something that you've completely missed out on. And that was actually one of the gifts of running somebody else through that, because I really thought, like, on a basic foundational level, we all are all the same here, and then we differentiate out after that. Like, every cell in the body is born from one cell. One cell becomes 2, becomes 4, becomes 8 or 16 or whatever, but then you can trace them all back to 1. But it's like, okay, but that's not how people are. We ain't all one cell. Some of us might start off this one cell, some of us might start off as another one, and it's many. And I was like, wow, I really wait. So as I get comfortable with how I work and how my universe, spirit, team, crew, and connection communicates to me and works with and through me, like, there are just some things I don't know if it'll necessarily translate to other people. So again, I leave it open for you and your connection to delve deeper into, if you resonate with it. And I still don't necessarily feel like it's my place to say some things. On some other, I think if I'm being real honest, if I'm being 100 right now, because I see that 100 emoji in the chat. There's just like some things I don't want to talk about. You know what I mean? Because like for me, I feel like sacred would be a strong word that, like, it is sacred to me, but it isn't necessarily something that can't be shared. But they're not things that I necessarily would just like share with anybody. I don't know. You know what I mean? And anybody can see this. So that's why I'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to go there today. Or I don't know if I'm going to go all the way there. So try to give it to me in a way where I can get to the point without talking about all this. You know what I mean? Or maybe that's just me in the moment. Like, I can recognize how something might resonate for me in that, because of synchronicities or signs that like have been popping up in my world, life, and experience. And then something comes out in the reading. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, cute. That's for me. All right. But, I ain't necessarily got to tell y'all what's for me, right? Not that, if you watch me, not that I don't interject my own experiences and stuff like that, but I try to do it like mindfully. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like in general, just like the way that we've approached social justice, diversity, and inclusion has almost it has impaired our ability to connect, I feel, because we chose to do the route of we're the same. instead of learning to recognize and appreciate differences and to not let difference cause division, because difference can cause division and difference has caused division because difference has been used as an agent of divisiveness. But that's just how division has been used. You know what I mean? Or that's just how difference has been used or interpreted. Difference in itself is not divisive, right? It's actually difference that leads to the creation of life, if you think about it. Um, but anyway, I'm going on like entire tangents right now, or not tangents, but I'm gonna lose this train of thought real quick. Oh, but just like that, I think so too. Like it's like energy can be like people, right? And so if the way that we connect with other people is by finding common ground that we have and by attaching to those things that are like the same for both of us, then it's almost like it's no different or it's not much difference when you come upon energy. And so if you're not in a space to allow another person to reveal fully who they are to you and for you to see them and all that they are outside of who you are and what your experiences have been, then how do you expect any different from energy? You know what I mean? But that's again, that's like the paradoxical sort of thing about it. It's that like we do reflect each other in part. It's not completely false that we project on each other and we're all reflections of each other, but it's not completely true either. It's not true. I feel like it's not true always to the extent that we treat it to be. And so, because of that, again, it's like there's a lot of other people that we miss out on, and there's a lot of energy that we miss out on. And we really construct, or we really confine and constrain our creation in that way as well. It's like if we stick to reds and blues and we never introduce greens and yellows, you know, we're painting with a limited selection anyway. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just some dude on the computer who don't know nothing. You know what I mean? I'm just living life like the rest of y'all, like the rest of us, doing the best I can, like everybody else. You ain't gotta listen to me. But you should listen to your intuition and your discernment. You should build a connection that you can trust with the divine, and the divine will tell you. And then maybe, I don't know, you'll get a little bit more out of these because there are like I said, there are definitely things that I don't say that I don't mention. Some part, it's not my place to. And some other ways, it's just like, I don't know, you know, it's just, I don't know. But that has happened a few times. I get so excited because I was like, oh, this is where this one energy came in. And I watched the video and I'm like, I didn't talk about it at all. I didn't say a word. But if you see me here, just like make a face and like contemplating, sometimes it's happening as I'm speaking and it's like running in the background, but I'm like focusing on this train or whatever. I'm just like, wow, I really didn't say that. But when I watch it back, the thought comes back to my mind. So I'm like, see, that's it. I mean, is it because I already did it and I know what I was thinking, or is it because it resonates and I'm receiving it again in this point, in this spot, in this moment? That's how, in my interpretation of and interaction with, that's how I interact with other people readings too, honestly. Because it's general, like, you know, I'll take the parts that resonate as they resonate, and then the conversations that they lead to, and the doors that they open for me spiritually, or for me in my experience of reality. That's when the general becomes more personal for me. I don't necessarily take it as like everything that's said in this general reading as it's said will unfold for me, or that is like what it means to me. But honestly, in a way, that's just Patrick being Patrick. you know? So anyway. That's so funny that you mentioned that because that you use that phrase because I thought about it. Was that earlier today or yesterday? Because I've heard the joke or the pun of like somebody being outstanding in their field, and I was like, I'm trying to be outstanding in my field. Maybe it was the wild woman because I did think about the wild woman. Well, I thought about the mystical. I'll pull one because that's easy to reach. I thought about the mystical shaman oracle cards. I saw that video blowing up, going viral about the little kid in corn, and I've always been like, I get the corn all the time in the mystical shaman, and I don't have any connection to corn, so I never know what it means. And I'm like, and that's another thing for me. It's like I know like people say corn means abundance, and people say this mean that, but like I like to have like what does this mean for me and to me? Sometimes I can go off of what it means to other people, but sometimes I want to know what it means to me. You know what I mean? You're fine. I mean, you're fine. Thank you. I meant to say thank you, Sandra. Because I was thinking about how it feels like Earth is the planet, Pachamama is the consciousness that embodies the planet. Like Pachamama is like Gaia. When Earth is like, I will show you who I am, more so than just being the planet we live on. And I was like, well, there's water. Is there an embodiment of water? And then there's fire. Is there an embodiment of fire? And then there's the wind. Is there an embodiment of wind? And I thought the wild woman could be the embodiment of the wind. Um, I mean, we can say that the sun and the moon are the embodiment of fire and water. I might not, but I will pull one of these. All right, you are the last card, and then I am getting off of here. Number 55. Ooh. Taming the Wind comes out. And that's interesting. I did think Taming the Wind could be the embodiment of the wind, but I was like, yeah, no, that's too easy. But Taming the Wind, this came out when I did that. Was it New Moon, New Year? For the red self existing moon. I think it was that the new moon in Leo. Yeah, because this is a full moon in Aquarius. It was the new moon in Leo, like a day or a few days after the Mayan galactic New Year. And Wind and Taming the Wind came out. The bottom of the deck is the eagle. And then the Andean cross is behind the eagle. So with the eagle coming out at the bottom of the deck for the card of Taming the Wind, it's not about controlling the wind. It's about learning to work with the wind to get where we want to go. There are some birds that flap their wings against the winds. There are some birds that just like ride currents and air waves. Maybe we can do both. But I think that's actually very important for like the arbiter and then the blank card after the arbiter with that question of, well, what do you want to create? I think sometimes there's a lot of control that it can be easy to try to hold or have or exert over something, but it's not a control in it's almost like if there's a wild horse that won't break no matter what you do, then it's like to tame that horse, it isn't about you breaking that horse. And it's not about making the horse do anything you say and making the horse subservient to you. It's about getting your desires and goals to align to the desires and goals of the horse, and then you work together. to get where you're going. You know what I mean? Like how we use sails on boats. We don't put the sail on the boat to control the wind. The sail on the boat opens to the wind. And when the wind blows in the direction it moves the sail, and the moving of the sail propels the boat forward. It's that energy. And so it does feel like there are like spiritual forces or whatever that want to come in and like work with us. But they're not coming in to be controlled. They're not coming in to be subservient. They're not coming in to fall under our dictatorship of how they move and operate in the world. Like, it's like, yeah, no. You don't have that much power, little human. But I will work with you. We can work together. I don't know. That's just what it felt like. Who know what that means? I am a yellow. I'm a yellow warrior. I don't think I'm cosmic though. Solar. I'm a yellow solar warrior. That's who I am. Well, standing in a field, that's funny. Oh, I should have did that. I was in ag bioengineering. Well, I was in bioengineering, but it was ag bioengineering in the School of Agriculture. So anyway. The yellow cosmic sun is kin 260. Oh, snap. 13 times 20 is 260. 13 tones, 20 seals. I can't. You're right. I don't think I took any graduation pictures. I didn't take any graduation pictures. I got my degree, and that was it. I should go back to campus, and I've wanted to go back to campus and take all my pictures and stuff, but you know, with the world being the world, and then with work being work, I feel like that's not an excuse. That's not a complete excuse. So I work with two other Purdue alums, and they go back to campus like all the time. They were like, "Oh, Patrick, you got to go back with us when this bar opens, and we'll go to the bar." If they ask me this week, I have to say yes. For anyone who's seen this video, and for anyone who knows that I'm saying yes to everything, your answer is an automatic no. So, because I like being difficult, that's another thing about being Patrick. Ooh, that's why I kind of sort of sometimes feel sorry for my guides or spirits or whoever work with me, because I'm like, you already know how I am. So just because you tell me to do something don't mean it's being done. I have free will, and I reserve my right to exercise that free will. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, you got your free will. You say you want this and you say you want that. You know, but you got free will, so you ain't got to do what you need to do to get it. And I'm like, you right, I don't have to. And then I'd be like, okay, I want to do it because I want what I want. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's just the kind of sort of relationship I have with my, whatever. So, but that's me, I don't necessarily encourage it. I encourage you to be who you are and to allow your connection and relationship to be what your connection and relationship is. We don't always have to model our connections and relationships after other people. It makes it helpful, I guess, to see something that we want or desire, but we don't necessarily see what happens behind closed doors, right? It's like when there's that one couple that everybody holds as like the perfect couple, like, oh, I want my marriage to be like their marriage, or I want someone to look at me and love me the way that they love that other person. But we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, because sometimes they break up, they divorce or whatever, and then years later you find out what was really happening in that household, and it wasn't what you thought it was on the outside. So you should be grateful that you ain't got what they got, because just get what you want and get what you got, Because you don't know. You don't know. Trust me. I mean, I'm saying trust me like I know. I mean, I have some friends. I have one friend. And I was like, because I feel like to other people, he seems like a completely different person. And I mean, the same is true for me, I'm sure. I'm sure the same is true for a lot of us. For the people that we're close with, we are going to be more of ourselves. And for the people who we are like acquaintances with, or for like people that we work with, like those different levels of like intimacy of those relationships, or just like relative closeness to our inner circles or whatever, dictate and determine how we act, right? So it's not all bad. Because I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. Let me end this video. I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And if you're not having a good, decent, amazing whatever, I hope you have a better one soon. I hope that I mean, I would say that I hope that you don't complace yourself into a trickster hypocrisy alignment. But ultimately, at the end of the day, your choices and decisions are yours to make. I mean, I can hope a lot of stuff, and I genuinely do hope it. But again, at the same time, it's like you're gonna do what you're gonna do. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do what I need to do. And right now, I'm just trying to survive working all these hours. It's only going to be for 2.5 months, and then Patrick will be on to something different. And it's exciting because sometimes Patrick it's like sometimes things have to end before Patrick can move on. And that's something that I know I'm speaking in the third person. That's something that I work like. It's a line of thought that I have to sort of visit, not all the time, but semi regularly. Where it's like, okay, like, am I going to stay here because this feels like it's the place for me right now, or am I staying here because I'm here and it's here and it's not over? Because I remember at first, it was like early February, I was thinking about how, like, I don't mind my job, I don't dislike it, but there's something different, or there's something more that I want to do. And I was like, but I don't want to leave in a bind. I don't want to leave them in a bind. Like, I don't want to whatever. And then I got the news that we'd be closing down in October. And I was like, oh, like, I get to leave, like, go free. And so sometimes I just do, I guess, have to ask myself, am I holding on to things just for the sake of holding on? Those conversations are easier to have when I'm honest with myself. Because I think there are sometimes when I hold on for specific reasons or whatever. And then at the same time, too, it's like, well, as long as I'm honest with myself about why I'm doing what I'm doing, then I can live with that. You know what I mean? Because I did talk to my journey buddy, and I'm really like, whenever my Taurus moon activates, I feel like I feel like I live life at a completely different level. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, though, it seems like my Taurus moon activates more often than not, or activated in the past more often than not, because of anger, frustration, or general upsetness. And so one of the things that I noticed that I was able to do was, like, I can manifest like crazy when I'm mad. I literally, like, something happened at work one day, and I was like, well, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to quit right now. I literally come home, open up Twitter. Here's 10 companies doing exactly what you said you want to do right now, and you don't need any prior experience. They will pay you to teach you. They pay you to learn it, and they pay what you're already making, if not more. And it's remote. Literally everything you said you wanted. And I feel like, because I was mad. There was another time, it was 2020. My mom had said something, or I got into an argument with my mom or whatever. And I was like, I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to move out. I'm ready to manifest the life of my dreams. And I'm not gonna look back. I'm just gonna leave. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity just popping up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is everything I was saying that I want. But I say it so many times when I'm live that I feel like it's a piece of my truth that I don't necessarily catch in the moment. Or it's a piece of what was revealed to me as true for me in some way that I share that might be true for you. I might not be taking as resonates. Allow your universe to tell you, show you if it's true for you or if it's not. Just don't just take it if you don't know if it's true or not. You know what I mean? But it's, and I said it earlier in this video, the energy that we have when we acquire something is the energy that is going to continue to carry when we get it. And so I don't want to rage manifest or hate manifest or upset manifest or frustrated manifest an opportunity. And then I take that opportunity and there are things happening in those situations, environments that continue to carry on that energy of me being upset. Because then that'll lead to me being like, oh, well, I could have just stayed where I was. Why did I even leave if I'm still forcing or if I'm still facing the same stuff? Like, why did I even go anywhere? That's why I'm like, you know what? Let me. And I just like, I feel like I overthink or I double think or I just, if I'm not upset, I've realized, and I told my journey buddy about it. We talked about it. I feel like the only time I'm like 100% in on something is when I'm mad or when I'm upset. That's one of the few times where I'm not like, oh, well, maybe I actually want to do something else. I don't really know what I want. I'm just like looking for anything. I'm open to the flow. But when I'm mad, I'm like, exit now, please. So, hey, waiter, I'm ready for my check. And the waiter's like, all right, here you go. I'm like, okay, thanks. But I'm like, hold up. Actually, maybe I want something else. Maybe I'm actually still hungry because I didn't eat yet. Anyway, it's like I said, I think I share some of these things with y'all when I talk about like me and my experience with the divine and with the universe and world I live in and the people in it. It's things that I've been able, especially within the past 2-3 years, it's things that I've sort of noticed or things that I've come to realize because of, I feel, the level of presence and honesty that I hold with myself as I go through things. You know what I mean? And I'm past the point of being hard on myself just for the sake of being hard on myself. I'm past the point of being a critic just for the sake of being a critic, just for the sake of like, you know how some people tear people down just to tear people down? And then you know how like some people do it to themselves? Like I'm done doing that to myself. But I can still be honest with me. And I think that's one of the things that I've come to appreciate most about, now that I think about it, now that I'm talking about it, it's one of the things that I've come to appreciate the most about my relationship with me is the amount of honesty that I can now sort of like bring to the conversations that I have with myself. When it's like, when it's time to do something or when it's time to have that mental conversation about whether I want to continue where I'm at or whether I want to put more energy effort into looking somewhere else or whether I want to go to a wedding to see a friend and go with a friend, like whether or not I want to step out of my comfort zone because I want to continue to have indescribable experiences. I'm not yet where I want to be. Like I don't. I'm in a good place for where I am now. I'm in an amazing place for where I am now. But this isn't where I want to end up. This isn't where I want to stop. So I know I got to continue going, and there are already sort of things that sort of more often than not just like come to me as a thought. Um, because I make my intentions to the universe clear, and the universe is like, okay, well, and then universe, the divine, will literally just like Be like, hey, like, you know how you do this? That actually isn't helping you, and here's why. Or they're like, hey, like, you know, this thing that you do, it's actually because like you believe this thing or you haven't quite yet worked through this other thing. And that's why you do that. Just thought you should know. And I'm like, oh, snap. I'm like in the middle of doing work or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. Hopefully I remember that when I'm done. Because if I'm not, then I have to get that reminder again. Um, but I feel like it's one of the things that I feel like if I look back on my experience, I guess, like, I guess it's not only the honesty that I can have with myself now, but it's also the compassion, um, and the understanding that I'm able to give myself, because that's one thing that I just did not give myself when I was still in the part of my life when I was going through like dark night after dark night. It felt like there was a level of understanding and compassion for the situation that I was in and for the things that I had been through and for everything that was on my plate or on my mind all at once and for all that I was expected to still continue to do. It's like, it's no wonder I fell short. And especially when I wasn't taking care of myself, hello, it's no wonder. Um, but they're all things that I've learned in the process of this healing journey. You know what I mean? And so there are things that I continue to use as I attempt to continue the journey into the next phase, where it's not just healing, where it's not just like breaking cycles or going through cycles that I've experienced before, where it is the what unbelievable or the inconceivable, where it's the unimaginable, where it's the things that I haven't never thought I'd get to experience, never thought it would be my life, you know? I never necessarily thought I wanted to be at a point in time, or in a lot of times, I never thought I'd necessarily be in a position to be like, hey, mom, like, I want to go on a trip with you somewhere. Let me know where you want to go. I'll pay for it. Like, let's go. But here I am. Like, the first time I went to London, that was already like sort of crazy enough. Because before that, like, there were places, other countries that I wanted to go to, but there's a difference between like wanting to go somewhere and dreaming of doing something and like actually thinking that that you can, believing that it's possible, and then like experiencing that in your reality. And the first time it was like, oh my gosh. The second time, I think the experience was different for me because it didn't seem like it wasn't a once in a lifetime opportunity. The second time, it was like, I can stay if I want to, I can come back if I want to. The way my life is structured right now, thankfully, I can afford it. I have the means and I'm capable. And so when I was there, because my friend asked me about the trip, I was like, honestly, like the first time, it was just like something that I couldn't believe was actually happening, or like it felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. It's like it's part of my reality. Um, and again, that's in no small part, that is something that I asked for when I was manifesting like the job that I wanted and the life that I wanted to have, because of the way that I choose to go about being able to provide for myself or whatever. Like, that's one of the things I wanted to do, and I was able to do it. Pretty much everything that I wanted to do, I've been able to do, which is kind of wild. Um, Also, like, the bar wasn't set exceedingly high, but for where I was, the bar was still pretty high. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna continue, and I know that. I think honestly, though, for me, because there was a point where it was like, these are the things that I know I'm gonna have to do to get what I want, and so I'm gonna do it because it's gonna get me what I want. But now if I really think about it, I feel like I'm entering this phase. And it's funny because I think Eve's Pisces reading might have said about as much. And I watched it, and then I watched it again when it was released. And then the next day or later that day, I think it was the same day, so Tuesday, I was like, wow, I think Eve's reading like hit. And I don't even remember right now in this moment. But it's just like, I feel like I'm in this phase now where it's like I want to share I want to share me with the world, if you know what I mean. Kidding. But it's just like I don't, because like there are parts of my personality that I love, that I adore, that are so fun or so whatever. And I was talking to one of my coworkers months ago, and I was like, whenever I get in a mood like that, like I isolate myself. Like I'll go back to a space where I can be by myself and where I can be just like silly, goofy, creative, listening to music, like singing, whatever. Like where I can be in the light of, who I am or who I can be. But I always like when I get to those points or when I'm having those days where I can't help but just be whatever, I isolate myself. And then it was a few days ago, I was like, wow, like there are parts of me that I don't even really share with people that are like fun. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't know. I'm just at this point where it's like, I don't want to, I don't know. Like, because isolation it was a big thing for me because of, honestly, I didn't think that I was long for this world. And I thought it would have been exceedingly cruel of me to connect with a lot of people in very deep ways and then to one day make a choice or decision to no longer continue living and then to leave those people with pain. And I was like, it would be kinder of me to not even get close to those people in the first place so that if I do leave, they're not hurt. You know what I mean? Or to mitigate the amount of emotional damage that I cause other people. Ooh, girl, she was in like seventh grade. It was effed up. We know. She lived with that for years, and it informed a lot of her choices and decisions. And by she, I mean me, obviously. Um, so that was one of the many reasons why I chose to like isolate and separate from people because I thought it was kinder. In a lot of ways, I thought I was doing the world a kindness by not connecting or engaging as deeply. Um, And I think maybe it was that wedding that I went to that I almost not chickened out of, but I almost didn't go. Uh, because in the reception, I was like, oh, it's going to be so awkward or it's going to be so this or so that. And I had a genuinely good time. And I was connecting with people. I wasn't like shut down and off to the side and not really engaging or whatever. Somebody like pulled me to the dance floor. I'm like, girl, but I went. You know what I mean? I went with much like, but I didn't just willingly go. But if I did end up going, and then at the end, before I left, I talked to somebody twice that, and all like when I was in school and all of my time of being in his presence, where we shared space, knowing who he was and knowing like the number of mutual friends that we had or whatever, or the people that I knew that knew him, the people that I was close to that like knew him and was close to him, but I continued to keep that distance in that space. Like for that space to be closed at the end of the wedding, I was just like, wow. And that's when I came home and I talked about it before. Um, and I think Twitty was like, was there like some sadness? And for me, it wasn't sad. It wasn't this like, and I think maybe before, like there have been times where it was sad, where it's like, I can't believe I used to like be like this, or I can't believe I used to make those choices and decisions. But more so than like who I used to be and how things used to be, it was just like an acknowledgement of like what I want now. And for a minute, I did want to be like fully remote, but now I'm like, I don't even know if I want to be fully remote because I like going into work and like having people. Like I like having coworkers, especially coworkers that I like. I have coworkers that I love right now, and it's like if I was fully remote, like that wouldn't be the same. And it's interesting. I don't know. I didn't. And again, I feel like it's one of those things that I didn't necessarily expect to happen. It's a change that I didn't necessarily foresee for myself. But if I think about everything that I want, like who is the Patrick that has those things? Who is the Patrick that's living that life? It's not the Patrick that I was. Okay? Because I don't think that level of connection is possible when you're intentionally, purposefully isolating and keeping everyone at a distance, even your own mother, even your own family. Because for me, it was like, I don't want to be dependent upon anybody. If anything happens, I want to be able to just leave, just go. And be like, I don't need you, and mean it. And I had that moment with my mom. It was like 2017, from like May to October 2017. I didn't talk to my mom at all. It was the longest time I had gone without talking to her. And honestly, I feel like I probably could have went a little longer without talking to her, but people were wearing me down, and I was like, you know what? It wasn't that serious. What happened wasn't serious enough to like not have my mom in my life at all. And so I was like, I don't apologize for what I said, but I do apologize for how I said it. Because at the time I was going through this, and that. And what I said was facts. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's just like eventually, like when I made those choices and decisions, it was because of the bleak future that I didn't see for myself. And I used to have a fear that as soon as I found happiness, like I would die or something, that like I would lose it. It's like that's when I'll be released from the mortal coil. It's like when I'm finally really happy. And it does make me think of like The Matrix. I was thinking of The Matrix the other day, the movie, because it's interesting that for a lot of sort of media that can be seen as revealing certain truths about whatever, it's like, but in the same breath, at the same time, the movie franchise paints life outside of the Matrix as like miserable. And like you even have the dude that's like, plug me back up because I don't want any of this. And it's just like, maybe it's just like when I think we can like pick stuff up as a whole, even if only bits and pieces sort of resonate. And in that, it's like life outside of the Matrix doesn't necessarily have to be like what the movie like made it out to be. And it's almost like this not reverse psychology type of thing, but it's like it's almost sort of told in a way of like you're actually better off inside of the Matrix. Look how rough things are outside. And even when you're outside the Matrix, you're still going to lose to the machines. So I mean, at least you could have your caviar and champagne and think it tastes like caviar and champagne. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be ruled by the machines anyway, might as well do it in comfort and luxury and style. Um, and it's just I feel like it's so many, not just that, and it's something that I've noticed sort of over time. Um, it just feels like there are like different journeys or different aspects of different journeys that it's like they're sold and marketed as like I don't want to say sold and marketed, but it's like they're incredibly rough or they're incredibly hard. It's like, well, on this journey, you're not going to have this and you're not going to have that. And for me, myself personally, in my own personal experience, and maybe it's because of my personal experience, like what a lot of people, what I've heard Some people say the journey is, it hasn't been for me. Like, I had my journey buddy literally basically from the beginning. And so it hasn't been like this lonely, long road that I haven't had nobody to like that understands whatever. Like, I've been blessed and I've been fortunate, and I guess I take it as such. But I also don't hold it as truth for my path. So getting back to the jester and the trickster, and then the hypocrite versus the inventor. It's like, it's almost like, because I don't hold those things, it's because I didn't have that experience. I didn't see those things as true. I don't hold them as truth. And so, in my spiritual workings and creation of the path to lead me wherever, I don't create it as part of my experience. You know what I mean? I don't take it as part of my experience. So I can be working a 9 to 9 that's supposed to be a 9 to 5 and not see it as like me, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's part of the experience that I want. And I think that's another thing that's important, with that honesty and with that compassion, you know. So anyway, I've rambled for like a full hour beyond the close of this video. This is Patrick, and how Patrick lives his life and journeys his journey. Again, because I was talking with the Matrix about the Matrix with someone probably over a year ago, definitely over a year ago at this point. Uh, and then it wasn't until I had that conversation that I was really like, they really paint life outside of the Matrix as this like terrible struggle where you're still fighting. It's like, well, what's the point of being outside of the Matrix if you're still plugging into the Matrix to fight the Matrix? Like, even when you're not inside the Matrix is your life. It dominates your life. And you're not even in it anymore. And it still has that power over you when you're not even connected into it anymore. And again, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's not the danger of a partial truth, but there are things that we don't have to accept as true. And I think that just gets back to the point I was trying to make and probably failed to make earlier. Is that there are things that we don't have to accept as true. And there are parts of certain things that we don't have to accept as true. There are parts that we can recognize as true. Like, if I tell you that giraffes are tall, long-necked creatures that have brown spots and they're purple. Most of that is true, but there aren't many, if any, purple giraffes walking around, right? So you can take a giraffe is tall, has a long neck, has brown spots, or maybe I'm pretty sure they're brown spots because it looks yellow, and not take that it's purple. Like, giraffes don't have to be purple in your world. You know what I mean? They can be. If you have purple giraffes, amazing. Oh my gosh. Like, did I just not lie when I tried to? But it's like, I feel like a lot of times we take the whole thing and we don't necessarily have to. And I think when we don't, that's what allows us some creative liberty with experiences that we have to have with things that are going to happen sort of anyway. That's when we sort of get to, I think I used the word broker earlier. That's where we get to barter and bargain, or not bargain. That's where we get to barter. Oh yeah, bargain. That's where we get to bargain. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have this experience because I have to, but what if we can add a little bit of this? What if we can make time for this in my experience? What if I could have this experience, but it not be like that, but it be like this? And then the person is like, well, you filled the basic minimum requirements, and sure, we can accommodate this. And then you have the experience that you need to have with pieces that you want to have. You know what I mean? And ultimately, this was all an attempt. All of this was an attempt to get to that point. So thank y'all for being here, and good night. or a good morning or a good evening, good whatever, whenever.